This is the Franchise QB Podcast, where we empower entrepreneurs to win big in franchising. We huddle up weekly to educate our audience about the most successful small business model ever created, franchising.
Welcome to the Franchise QB Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Halpern, a 20-year industry veteran and entrepreneur. My mission is for listeners to achieve their American dreams of creating wealth and independence through franchise ownership. Every week, we speak with franchisees, franchisors, or vendors that support the industry. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. Joining us in the huddle today is Denise Tran, founder and CEO at Bun Mee Vietnamese Sandwich Eatery. Welcome to the show, Denise.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me.
It is great to have you here. So you made a pretty dramatic career pivot a while back. Tell us how a practicing attorney ends up launching a Vietnamese fast casual concept.
Good question. I think there's a lot of attorneys out there already, so I feel like one less attorney it would be okay. No, I had a point in my life in my early 30s where there was a fork in the road. Mm-hmm. Basically, a major thing happened to me. My father died. I just moved to New York City. I'd already been practicing for 5 years. I got engaged, moved to New York City, waiting to take the bar. I get the news my dad has cancer. And he had months to live. And so I took a break from everything, went down to New Orleans where he was at to take care of him. And subsequently when he passed, his wish for me was to take his ashes back to Vietnam, his homeland. And it was through that journey and also losing my dad at such a young age, caused me to really take a moment and a pause and really assess what life really meant to me and what happiness meant and what success meant. Up until this point, I was doing the immigrant thing, which is be a lawyer, like have that fancy office and just check that box, right? But my dad's passing, was just a wake up opportunity for me to assess what would make me happy. And I knew that I didn't want to change hours for dollars anymore. I was a transactional attorney. Mm-hmm. And I thought, and while I was in Vietnam taking his ashes back, I was so inspired by the street food culture in Vietnam. And I'd grown up eating bun mee sandwiches and growing up in a household where my mother's an amazing cook, my father's an amazing cook, and being inspired by all the tastes and sounds and smells of street food in Vietnam, when I came back to New York and decided to leave law, I wanted to find a business opportunity. I wanted to do something for myself and to create something for myself, and that felt like authentic to me. And that's how Bun Mee came about. I just, being inspired by that experience, I thought, wow, I don't see that anywhere. This is back in 2008. Right. So at this time, now, I guess on the coastal cities, Bun Mee is pretty, people are used to it. They know it. But at the time, it was just still a sandwich that was quite unknown. You really had to go to Chinatown alleyways and seek it out to have a bun mee sandwich. And so I wanted to be a part of creating that experience in a modernized way for a mainstream audience. So that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that personal story with us. And I'm sorry about the loss of your dad. I know that was a while back at this time, but that's just really neat how that inspired you to, fulfill his wish and go back to your homeland and experience that culture and the food and kind of redirect your life as a result, which is really inspirational and obviously been a really good choice for you. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. I happened to have a roommate when I was in college back in the 90s, a long time ago, who was part French, part Vietnamese. So I
Oh,
grew up, in my college years, I was exposed to pho and bun mi and
wow.
foods that I was not, exposed to when I grew up in the Philadelphia area. So that was pretty cool. And I moved to the DC area. I'm in Northern Virginia. There is a very big Vietnamese population. I am a big tennis nut. I play tennis with a lot of my Vietnamese friends, and I get to experience a lot of good food. So, like you said, I think the coastal cities, the big metropolitan areas are certainly used to the bun mi sandwich, but not 20 years ago. I think now it's a little bit more mainstream. So, explain to us like the name bun mi, right? It's kind of a play on words. What's
Right.
the story behind that, and what does it say about the brand?
Yeah, like I said, back in 2008, when I decided to do this and I was developing this brand, it was one of the frustrating things was people couldn't even pronounce it. They couldn't pronounce it correctly. So banh mi is spelled Banhmi. And
Okay.
so Americans would say banh mi, banh mi, or like they just would say it wrong. And I felt like, okay, the role was to educate, right? And it started off being just really, I want to educate folks on this great sandwich and also teach people on how to say it. And it's the Vietnamese word for bread. It's a pun and it's so cute to say. So I felt like it just kind of stuck with me. And so, it's really just, it stuck with me, and I feel like it's again just really cute to say.
Yeah, and it's really
Who
memorable
doesn't want
too.
to
Like,
have a bun meat?
yeah, exactly. It's a brand name you're going to remember. I like
Right.
how it's like phonetic so that people get how to pronounce it correctly. That's super cool.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
thanks for that. So you have this concept, as we know, fast casual since, 20, 25 years ago when brands like In-N-Out Burger and Five Guys Burgers and Chipotle, fast casual exploded onto the scene. There's not a shortage of those type of concepts out there. So what makes bun mi different, and why do your customers keep coming back?
Well, just the fact that it is a Vietnamese sandwich, what we are, the food that we're making and offering makes it different, right? Because when you think of the fast casual market right now, there's still a lot of room for diversity of options and cuisines. And in particular, Vietnamese food is still um, unknown with respect to like you don't see a mainstream national brand that's
Right.
Vietnamese, and so that in and of itself makes what we do pretty unique and different, and also what we're offering within the sandwich category. So we're offering a Asian sandwich, and that's unique because where do you get an Asian sandwich, right? You really don't think of Asian sandwiches as existing, right? And
Yeah.
so I mean, with the French colonization of Vietnam, we have baguettes, and so this is not something I created. This has always been this wonderful fusion of two cultures for over several hundred years that have been, widely enjoyed and eaten in Vietnam. It's our hamburger, right? It's
Yeah.
our
No.
fast food, but
Yep.
it's not something that Americans really think about when they think about sandwiches. It's a
Well,
whole
you are
yeah, it's a
changing
whole
that.
niche and category that is
Yep.
completely not explored. And there are over 1 billion Asians in this world, and no Asian sandwich category that exists
Mhm.
in the US. And I felt like that was an opportunity in and of itself that's unique.
Yeah. No,
The
I love it.
fast casual concept is not unique, but what we're offering remains still unique to this day. And that's the exciting opportunity that we're offering.
Yeah, and I want to get into the way the operating model works here in a little bit. But kind of, you mentioned the bun mi, the brand name itself is a play on words. Your brand has a fun, cheeky personality to it. How intentional was that, and how does it play into the overall kind of trade dress and customer experience when someone comes into your bun mi restaurant?
Yeah, very intentional. We're making sandwiches. Our name is Bun Mee, right? It's a pun. So being cheeky, being fun, being irreverent, is a part of the brand voice. And I feel like, it speaks to what we are and who we are. And we're not, we don't take ourselves very seriously. We have fun. We love what we do, but we take the work seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. So we still have a good time. And it's all part of the ethos of Bun Mee, is that we're a little cheeky, we enjoy that. That's definitely intentional.
Yeah, that's cool. So to someone that hasn't been to the Bay Area and hasn't experienced actually stepping foot in one of your spaces, aside from the dine-in, what other revenue streams are available to a Bun Mee franchise owner?
Yeah, I mean, our revenue streams, we do a lot of catering. A lot of takeout, third party apps, that sort of thing. But we do a lot of catering, office catering, party catering. That is something that is a big part of our business. And actually this weekend, we're going to be at a music festival called Outside Lands, that usually, serves up over 100,000 people that come to the music festival. We have a booth out there, and we're out there at the festival for 3 days, introducing our brand to a whole new audience. But so we find different ways to increase our revenue stream via all those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about your real estate strategy. I noticed that, as an emerging brand, you have 5 locations. How much space do you need for your traditional footprint and your non-traditional footprint? I noticed that you have some locations in the airport, which is really interesting. So what does the real estate look like? Is it like 1,000 to 2,000 feet on the street, and then it's a fraction of that when it's in a non-traditional environment?
Yeah. What's great about our brand is our smallest location is 700 square feet. And that location does, about over $4 million in sales.
That's insane revenue for a space that size.
You can. And then our largest location is about 1,600 square feet.
Okay.
So our sweet spot, though, is, I would say, 1,500. So, around 1,500 to 1,600 square feet is great. But we operate some of our highest volume locations. We can do 1.7 million out of 1,000 square feet. So we don't need a lot of space to do the volume that we do. So we are really flexible on space, but we don't need a lot of space. So I think that's what's nice about our concept, is we can really be very efficient with the space and don't need a lot of space to create volume.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool that this early on in your development, like, you've been able to land real estate that a lot of brands that are much larger than your brand don't have access to, because clearly there was a demand for what you guys are doing that's different. Because spending 15 plus years in the food industry, I know landing some of those coveted spots at the airport, they don't just happen. They don't hand those out. They give them to people that really have something unique and interesting, and it's going to be a win-win for the consumers as an amenity in the airport, as well as for the airport itself, the airport authority, and the brand. So that's pretty awesome. I
wanted to our own horn, as you mentioned, that Bloomberg this year recognized us as one of the top airport restaurants in the world.
Wow! Congratulations! I didn't know that. That's awesome.
For business travelers, so it's a real estate path that we want to continue pursuing, is to be able to look at other airport opportunities too.
So Denise, your mission is to build the most beloved Vietnamese fast casual brand that wins over the hearts, minds, and taste buds of every American. That's an ambitious mission, and I suspect that franchising plays a key role in that vision. You established the brand back in 2011, so it's 14 years mature, but you recently launched the Bun Mee franchise last year in 2024. Why did you decide that now was the right time to franchise?
Yeah. So, growing our brand and being a national brand has always been the play. When I first launched this business back in 2011, that's always something that was part of the bigger goal. But I also wanted to make sure that we had a proven successful model that I felt comfortable teaching others. And so that took us some time. When we were finally ready and I felt like, okay, this is what we want to do, and we were ready to unroll this model, COVID hit. And that put us back for a few years. You know, we spent the downtime during COVID retooling, taking a inventory of ourselves, reassessing what we did, our operations, investing in our internal operations and processes and procedures so that when we're ready to do this again, we'll be stronger than ever. And I feel that was the right choice for us. I feel really confident in this place and where we're at right now to launch our franchise. And the market cannot be better right now. I think there's a lot of opportunities out there and a lot of opportunities for a diverse ethnic cuisine, fast casual concepts like ours.
Very cool. So am I correct that out of the 5 operating locations, 3 are in traditional locations and 2 are in non-traditional? Is that accurate?
Right.
And then are they all corporate owned, or do you have a franchise owner yet?
All corporate owned.
They're all corporate owned. Okay, so we're on the front end of trying to find the right franchise owners to join the system.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to start somewhere, right?
New York is in the works right now, though. So.
Oh, congrats! That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just getting registered in New York is a feat in and of itself. So congrats on that.
I know.
And that goes back to your friendly lawyers that we used to work with. The examiner has to make sure that the brand is vetted and ready to go. So that's good. So how many employees are required on a busy shift? Like you have either an owner or a manager, and how many people can handle this kind of volume? I mean, to produce this kind of volume, obviously, it can't be 2 or 3 kids. So tell me a little bit more about what that looks like on a busy shift.
Yeah. So, I mean, the range is, if you think bare bones, then maybe 4 to 5 bare bones. Okay. And then on a busy shift, it may be just another couple more people. So 7 to 8 employees on a busy shift, but not a lot. We don't, and our managers are working managers. So they float around. They're able to fill in any position. So we want to make sure that managers are working in the positions as well. So we have a very efficient and lean labor model that makes it work for us.
Great. So, I was curious about your vision for when owners come in, and you've lived through it because you started as the owner operator and now you're semi-absentee. So when a new franchisee comes in, do they have the choice of being in the restaurant as the manager operator, as well as kind of building a team and putting a little more capital to kind of build that infrastructure so they could step back and maybe open a couple of locations?
Definitely. We're open to both. So if you're an owner that wants to be in the trenches and that's what you want to do, great. If you are an owner if you're an owner that says, hey, I want to be semi-absentee, I'm going to bring in someone with experience that will manage my operations, that is also okay. But what we do require is whomever is on the team needs to have restaurant management experience. So we're not going to take an owner with no restaurant experience and wants to come in and run a restaurant by himself or herself. So we do recommend in an instance where an owner has no restaurant experience to bring someone on their team, either like a partner or an employee that's going to have that restaurant experience to run their operations.
I'm really glad you're doing that so early on in your franchise development because, being a guest in a restaurant is great. Sometimes owning it and running it is a lot more challenging than people think. And, it's your model, I'm assuming, skews to the easier side of operations, but that doesn't mean it's easy, right? You're dealing with people, customers, vendors. There's a lot of moving parts. So you want to make sure that you have people with experience that are like, look at this as, oh, wow, this is easy relative to what I was doing in this, full service business model, versus someone that's like literally doing what you did and having to step out of a professional role and figure it out. Like the benefit of a franchise is you figured it out for them. So let's plug and play and let's get a good, restaurant person in there to kind of take this thing and level it up. So I think that's really good guidance. And sometimes when you turn people away, they'll go find a really good partner that has experience and they can come in. Somebody has the capital, somebody has the know-how, and they make a really good owner. Right. So how do you support those owners in terms of training and support from day one when they're like join the system?
Yeah, I mean, we have obviously on-site training that we do. We'll have Zoom classes. We plan on having Zoom classes and on-site training. We're building out an LMS system that they'll be able to access all our training online if they forget and need further ongoing training and support. And we plan on being on site to help them launch the store, help them set up, and we're always available on the phone. We'll have a support person that's available that they can call for anything that comes up along the way. My primary goal is to make sure franchisees feel supported, that they're successful.
I think that's what people are looking for when they join an emerging brand is like, okay, you've got to figure it out in your stores. How does that translate to me when I open in another market? And the fact that that's your number one priority, I think will give a lot of comfort to new franchise owners that are kind of joining you to grow the Bun Mee concept. So tell me, who are you looking for? Who makes the perfect fit to become a Bun Mee franchise owner?
Yeah, I want someone that is like, it could be someone that's tired of corporate life, wanna, be their own boss, right? But is a little risk adverse and doesn't want to go out and start something entirely new that's unproven. Is a foodie that loves bun mee, loves Vietnamese food, sees an opportunity there, understands what we're doing, understand that the unique place that we're presenting in this field in this fast casual field, and they do understand that. Someone that is well capitalized. I think it's important to make sure that you do have sufficient capitalization to be successful. And someone that knows that that they can work well in a system, right? I mean, if you're a chef with all these fancy ideas and, you won't be a good fit for us, but if you're someone that's like, I love people, I like to see people, like the immediate reaction that people have when they're eating something that we created. And that is fun for me. And I want to work for myself. I want to, be my own boss. That's really the person that we're interested in. I think that's an opportunity that it would be attractive to someone like that.
Yeah, and I think the part about capital is really important because it's not just buying the furniture and the fixtures and equipment and doing the construction project. There's a landlord that's involved, and the landlord is going to vet the franchise owner's financial situation, and you want access to great sites. And if they don't have the financials, they're not going to get the sites, and that puts you at a disadvantage. So being aware of that early on, I think, is really meaningful. And having overcapitalized franchisees is always a good thing, because they can make good decisions about hiring and good decisions about marketing and things like that. So let's touch on the menu a little bit. By the way, your food photography is mouth-watering. I looked at it yesterday. I'm like, oh my God, I want to eat this right now. It looks so good. I hope
it made you hungry.
It did make me hungry. The problem was it was late at night, and I'm like, I can't eat right now. But so how did you design the menu for both craveability, which I can tell it has, as well as operational efficiency, because they don't always go hand in hand?
Yeah, we tried a lot of food, and it's just a lot of trial and error over the years. And as you mentioned, we've been in business for 14 years, so we've got a lot of data on what works with our customers and what doesn't. And we take over the years, we've taken our best hits. We used to, when we first opened, we had a sardine sandwich, and we had a fried catfish sandwich, and we had a sloppy bun, and we had, a pork belly braised for hours sandwich. And we just had, and they're all great. I mean, they were popular, but they all were, some of them were extremely complex. For what they were and how popular they were, right? And so we really thought about, as we were thinking about scaling and what it means to scale operational wise and how to be efficient with our scaling, we had to make tough decisions about items that we really loved but didn't sell as much. And so we had to really or items that we loved didn't sell that much, but it was extremely complex to make and just wasn't worth our the ROI wasn't there to make that sandwich. And so we've streamlined our menu to maintain all the best hits that we know people love, that are tried and true. And then the ones that are a little bit more unique or more complex, we bring it back seasonally. For various different times of the year so that we could still be efficient throughout the year and still bring those items back that are a little bit more complex and could be a more niche sandwich that I think customers, come back for, and they'll know when we have them and they come back for that. But that way we're able to be efficient in our operations. And I think that has proven to be the right path for us.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, you have to align the menu with things that are popular and delicious and create a following, but also are profitable and allow you to scale, because your franchise owners have to execute that menu regardless of, where they live and regardless of what their food cost is like here versus there. So that makes a lot of sense. So what does a day in the life look like for a Bun Mee franchise owner, like in the role of an owner operator?
Yeah, if you're an owner operator, you're essentially, operating like a general manager of a restaurant, right? So, I mean, you will be probably, making sure on a weekly basis to check your numbers, to forecast your sales, to do inventory, to make sure, labor scheduling, doing, quality checks and making sure that all that is consistent over, the week. And on a daily basis, you could be coming in, say, like at 10 o'clock before you open, and you might have a team that will come a little earlier to prep the kitchen. You may come in at 10, it opens at 11, checking in on the team, checking in on the line and the food, try everything a little, try a little taste of everything, make sure that all the food meets the standards. It'll be a busy lunchtime crowd. And then, what might happen is when that's done, during like maybe 1 or 2, you'll do a few orderings for the next day, check to make sure you got all your stuff for the next day. And you could be out by 4 or 5, when your night shift manager comes in, and you could be out. So it could be a very, on the job, a short day for you. But then there's, obviously making sure your bills are getting paid. You're reviewing your P&Ls and checking that inventory, making sure that those numbers are correct. But so I think on the job and operationally in the store, as a franchisee, it could just be, a 4 or 5 hour day for you on the job. But then, you may be at home doing a lot of office work.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, in the role when you become a little bit more semi-absent, when there's a manager in place, then you get to work on the business a little bit more instead of in it,
Right.
where you are working on marketing techniques and building relationships in the community and, figuring out ways to maybe scale the business and open another unit and things like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's really cool, because a lot of the concerns people have is like they don't want to be in a restaurant for 10, 12 hours a day. So the fact that you have it set up where they can come in at 10, leave at 4 or 5, and I know that that's up to the owner to figure out how much or how little they want to invest in physically being in the space. But I think that paints a vision for a potential franchisee to see what life would look like as an owner. So I appreciate that. So, when you look at the vision, I know we're really on the front end of franchising. So you're really methodical and patient about how you grew the business over the first 14 years. What do the next 5 years look like for you?
Well, we'd like to see anywhere between 5 to 10 units per year growth after the first year. I think this whole first year that we've invested, I know it's going to take a little longer to grow, but we'd like to see a uptick of about 5 to 10 units per year, so that within the next 5 years, I would love to see anywhere between 30 to 40 units that are built. Either some of it will be franchise owned, mostly franchise owned. Some of it will be corporate owned. Mm-hmm. And we still want to, like I mentioned earlier, pursue a airport growth strategy that will be something that I would personally pursue, corporate owned stores through the airport. 500 units all over and have like half of them fail, I really don't want to do that. I'm very focused on high quality, high touch. If boutique franchise, is the right word, but it's really important to me that we're a successful franchise.
Yeah, no, I get that. It comes through. You can tell you're passionate about the brand. You want to build a foundation of really good franchise owners that are going to help each other and collaborate and be good brand ambassadors. And, that starts with making really good decisions in the beginning. So let's talk item 7. If someone is like, wow, this looks really interesting, I might want to join the Bun Mee franchise system. How much will it cost to open a unit? Obviously, there's a range based on the condition of the space, the footprint, the construction costs, labor in their market, et cetera. You're in the Bay Area, so my guess is that you guys are paying top dollar to get one of these open. So if you open in like your area or my area in like DC, you're going to be spending a lot of money versus somewhere kind of in the middle of the country where it's a little bit more efficient. But what does the range look like in item 7 of the FDD?
Right. The numbers we have are, Bay Area numbers. And so it's going to be on the higher range. So for us, a traditional location could be as low as the low 400s, and as high as over $1 million. Okay. But when I say over $1 million, I'm talking about building at the airport, using union labor, mm-hmm. and having all the red tape that comes with building at an airport location that you wouldn't have on a street side location. Right. And on the low side, it would be a second generation type location where it's an existing restaurant of some kind that already has venting and hoods and things that are already kind of there. Yep. So that's the range of possibilities that it would take to get into a bun mee. It's a very standard fast casual restaurant model.
Yeah, that falls in line with what you see out there. So you shared with us that you have a unit in the airport that's doing over 4 million. That's unbelievable volume. Are there any other financial metrics you can share with us from your item 19?
Yeah, I think what is notable on our item 19, and I would say someone that's looking at us as a brand to invest in would be that, year over year, like for example, 2023 to 2024, we have an average blend of sales increase of 27%. Across the, blended, right? We have a unit that just had a 46% increase in sales from 2023 to 2024. We had a unit that had 41% increase from 2023 to 2024. So when you're looking at, in San Francisco last year had a negative 6% So in the restaurant business. So when you see that, when you're looking at a brand, thinking about how it's doing and the year over year growth potential that it's showing, that's something we're really proud of, to be able to say that overall all our concepts blended had a 27% increase in sales from 2023 to 2024 is notable. And then the other thing that's notable is that, our food cost is 25%. Which is on the lower end of, the average food cost, fast casual food cost, which tends to be in closer to 28% or a little bit higher. And then our labor cost is around 19%, which is, again, on the lower end of, what the average fast casual number is, despite the fact that we are in San Francisco in one of the highest markets. So I think those three metrics, and just looking at them, if you think about it as a snapshot, I'm very proud of those numbers,
and it sounds like,
and to be able to present that on an item 19 and be like, look, this is how we're doing,
Yeah, you guys are doing really well. And yeah, I mean, locally seeing a 6% decrease overall in the restaurant space, and you guys are up, average of 27%, some instances over 40. That's really compelling. So, so Denise, if anyone's listening right now and they're considering getting into franchising, of all the stuff that's out there, why should they give Bun Mee a serious look at becoming an owner?
I think that they should consider Bun Mee and give it a serious look, because of all the things I mentioned before. We are a proven fast casual model with over 10 years of experience. Our momentum is at its highest ever. We are a chef-driven franchise. We are a known brand in the Bay Area, one of the pickiest foodie market in the country. And we have a strong culture and ethos of support, and making that an important part of who we are. And that we're going to provide that support to a franchisee who might be scared of taking that risk, who's a little bit risk adverse to get into the food business, but wants to be in the food business. So, and also, more than that, though, we are in a unsaturated segment of fast casual where we are still, we're not doing pizza, we're not doing chicken, we're not doing, tacos, Mexican food. I mean, we are a pioneer in what we do, and it's a unsaturated market still. So there's not a lot of competition, and very likely in your town or market, you're not going to have competition, right? And so it's all a unique proposition that I think hopefully if someone, is out there looking at opportunities to invest and to give up their precious dollars and time, to consider all those things, because I think it's a strong proposition.
Yeah, you need to get over here to my area quickly, because I really want to try that food, and I don't get out to California as often as I'd like. But
yeah.
Well, Denise, I appreciate sharing all this great information with us about Bun Mee. Anything else you want to add to the mix today before we wrap up?
No, I just want to let everyone know that we're franchising in all the unregistered states right now. We're currently registered in New York, or registering, and also registering in California. So those, California will be hopefully up and coming sometime this year. But other than that, all the unregistered states, we're available. We're out there. You can find us at www.bunmee.co. And that's what we got going on, and we'd be happy to talk to you about our opportunities.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. And if anyone listening would like to connect with Denise and her team to learn more about becoming a franchise owner with Bun Mee, contact me at franchiseqb.com or on X at QBFranchiseQB. I'll get you guys connected. Thank you so much, Denise, for taking the time to join us in the huddle today.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Franchise QB podcast, where you're at the helm of your future as a franchise owner. If you enjoyed the content, please rate the show and recommend it to anyone that might be interested in franchising. Make sure to visit franchiseqb.com to subscribe to my newsletter and for an actionable playbook to go from walk-on to legend in your new business. Follow us on Twitter at QBFranchiseQB and join us every week for a new episode. See you next time.
Visit franchiseqb.com to take the next step of your journey towards wealth, independence, and franchise ownership. And remember, when working for the man gets old, you must do something bold. Thank you for listening.